afternoon. The baseball game going on?
That's for new signature. We do that afterwards. Don't worry.
To the Gabby birthday. She said, "You keep going outside and telling you about homes." I said, "No, they saw me out." Oh, she this one. He wasn't right now. She got it.
She won't. Okay.
She got the good pen. I can still have pen if you. Oh, the floors look good. Floors look real good. They need to come do my floors. It's always hurt when the baby is a baby. When it's an old person, you be like, I understand.
Services is Thursday, Kingston is Thursday and Friday.
It's still Abby's mug.
I mean, you don't have
We got to steal your mug. Well, I'll take it if it don't fit in a cup holder. It's fine.
see what happens.
All right. All right, we'll get started. It's Monday, April 25th. Nope. It's Monday, April 21st at 6:42. We have a quorum. We'll get started. First item on the agenda is roll call.
We have Ali Church, Mike Nepple, Sharonda Powell, Vickiana Demora, Adriana Wanalaya, myself, Sharice Vickers, the Executive Director, and Bob McLaughlin, Agency Counsel.
Thank you. The meeting has been properly noticed. We'll move on to item 3, reading and approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Those have been distributed. I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Item 4, report of the treasurer.
This report was set for March of 2025. For the opening balance of account 2847, the operating account, there was an opening balance of $107,364.12 with deposits of $13,553.63 with total disbursements of $28,444.05, leaving a closing balance of $92,473.70. In the payroll account ending in 8243, there was an opening balance of $142,062.71 with expenses paid of $10,649.32, interest paid of credit for $373.13, leaving a closing balance of $131,786.52. For the applications fund ending in 2855, there was an opening balance of $14,151.44 with no transactions recorded, leaving a closing balance of $14,151.44. For the lesser tenant account ending in 2863, there's an opening balance of $2,530.03 with interest paid of $6.98, having a closing balance of $2,537.01. For the labor monitoring account ending in 7072, there's an opening balance of $15,014.79 with no transactions recorded, having an ending balance of $15,014.79. For our money market account ending in 2871, there's an opening balance of $1,290,863.61, with interest recorded of $3,563.14, having a closing balance of $1,294,426.75. For the Newburgh South Logistics Center account ending in 6521, there's a opening balance of $54.64, with 15 cents interest recorded, having a closing balance of $54.79. For the labor monitoring of the IV5 account 5325, there's a zero balance with zero closing balance. The Provident Bank account 4346 have a zero balance opening and a zero balance closing. And the Provident account 5683 have an opening balance of $4,258,821.87, with no transactions recorded, having the same as the closing balance. And that concludes the treasurer's report.
All right, can I have a motion to accept the March 2025 treasurer's report? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. May I have a motion also to pay the bills for March 2025?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 5, Chairman's report. The IDA recently engaged in a retreat on April 11th to update the agency's uniform tax. So please correct me, has received a deviation resolution from the UTEP. The goal of the current board in assessing how to best update the UTEP is to align the agency's policy and process for accepting resolutions properly received. IDAs across the state currently receive and act on applications for financial incentives for housing projects, and this agency is well aware of that. We are also aware that this often obfuscates the process for the public, leads to decreased transparency and trust in the process, and frustration for residents and elected officials alike. Going forward, this agency will focus on its statutory intent, which is to encourage commercial and industrial development in the city of Newburgh and leave housing policy discussions, debates, and incentives to the city council. As previously stated, this will increase transparency in the process and just make a more responsive process for the public to engage in, and that is the goal. So we will hopefully have a draft to act on during the May meeting. If not, we will have a draft to act on shortly after that as those discussions continue. Tonight, the agency has an opportunity to act on two extremely exciting projects that promise to catapult economic development in the downtown corridor, in the heart of Liberty Street, and throughout the city. This is a very exciting time to invest in Newburgh, and this agency and the city at large wants to make clear to the public and to folks who seek to invest in the city of Newburgh, we are open for business. This is an exciting time to be in Newburgh, and we are excited to act on these applications tonight. With that, we'll move on to item 6, Council's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only report for tonight is that we did close on the warehouse project for IV5. We closed that a few weeks ago. So they should be up and going, and hopefully you'll see some construction up there shortly. They did pay the agency fee and established the labor monitoring account, and I believe they've already established a schedule to meet with the local labor market. Thank you.
Item 7, Executive Director's Report.
I don't have much to add. Everything Mike pretty much said from our retreat. I'll just add that the Armory did have the consultant visit Friday for the engineering report, and hopefully we'll have something in time for the May meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And we can move on to item 8, new business. Under new business today, we will get into the 8 attendant resolutions that will allow the agency to approve the financial incentives for 2 projects, 104 Washington Street LLC, which will bring 14 units of housing and approximately 8,000 square feet of new commercial space into the Liberty Street corridor. This will allow an existing successful city business to expand its operations up the hill. And this will provide early and concrete evidence that the city's economic development priorities weave we refer to as the Liberty Street Apartments LLC. We'll bring 145 units of new housing, 127 of which will be affordable across several AMI bands between 30 and 80%. There will be 18 market rate units and 8,000 square feet of commercial space. The city will realize about $8.3 million in new property tax revenue over the course of the affordability term. And in addition to that, the 127 units of housing across multiple AMI bands can't emphasize enough how important it is to have an integrated economy in the city that works for everyone. This isn't just affordable housing. More accurately, this is workforce housing. This is housing that will allow teachers' assistants, teachers, sanitation workers, police officers, firefighters, and nurses the ability to live in the city in which they work. And there really is not a more important initiative that this agency could undertake than to grow the community from within and to build community power through every action that we take. Before we get into the resolutions, I would just ask agency counsel, for the benefit of the public, to explain why each one of these projects requires 4 resolutions and a little bit about what each resolution accomplishes.
Sure. The first resolution is, for both projects, is a seeker resolution. In New York State, a municipal body, a public body, cannot take any action regarding a project until there has been a determination of whether or not that project has made any impact to the environment. In this case, the agency relies in part on the seeker resolution that's already been conducted by the planning board. The planning board in both projects have appointed itself as the lead agency. In both cases, made a negative declaration, finding that there was no significant adverse effect on the environment caused by the project. And your resolution is simply reviewing that determination and identifying if there are any errors, and if not, then you are confirming that you also find that there will be no significant environmental adverse effect caused by the project. The second is a resolution on both projects is a commercial finding resolution. As we've talked about a couple of times, the agency statute provides for commercial and warehouse and other projects, all commercial in nature, The only housing project mentioned in the statute is a senior housing project, which neither one of these proposed projects are. However, IDAs for the last 40 years have relied on the fact that traditionally a multi-family apartment building was always considered a commercial structure, a rental unit, and that was not a residential, but a commercial unit. And if the developer was to get traditional bank financing, a bank would underwrite it as a commercial loan. In addition, there was a 1985 comptroller opinion that has made the determination that an apartment building of more than that consists of multiple units can be considered a commercial unit, commercial project, if the agency so determines. In addition, there we have the recent executive order of the governor recommending that all public authorities, including this type of agency, make every effort to try and provide housing in the state. And so that resolution is your determination that this project, by its very nature and its impact on the community, is in fact a commercial project. With that, then you can move on to the third resolution, which is a deviation from the UTEP. The UTEP is your Uniform Tax Exempt Policy, which you're now under review to revise. This is a deviation from the existing UTEP from 2020. The statute allows for a deviation provided that you provide notice to the taxing jurisdictions that you are thinking about a UTEP and your reasons for why a UTEP is warranted. You fulfilled the statutory obligation by proper noticing and holding a public hearing, which actually the public hearing in both of these cases served the public hearing on financial assistance as well as the public hearing on a deviation. You received on both projects several written comments, mostly in support of the project, and those comments that were received that were negative of the project were negative only in the duration of the pilot, not in relation to the project. There was overwhelming support, public support for both projects. And that by reason of the secret determination, by reason of the commercial and retail findings, by reason of the deviation, and by reason of the application and all of your actions to date, you are approving the project with certain expectations of community benefits and also expectations on the fact that if those community benefits are not achieved or certain other actions are not taken by the developer, the agency has the ability to recapture those benefits. In both cases, presumably only a pilot or the taxes that have not been paid to recapture those. And the statute does require that the agency and the applicants enter what's called a Uniform Project Benefit Agreement, which sets forth the terms of the recapture events. And so to each resolution, there are exhibits. Exhibit A is the expected benefits, Exhibit B is the recapture events, and then those exhibits get attached to that Uniform Project Benefit Agreement. And that's the rules of the road going forward. Both will have the traditional, what we call traditional leaseback arrangement, where the applicant will lease the project to the agency will then lease it back. There was a question raised on assignment. We've provided here that the assignments will not occur without coming back to the agency for the agency consent, and that any assignment of the project will require the new applicant to continue with the requirements of the approving resolution. And if anyone has any questions.
All right, I think at this this time, before we get into the resolutions, I'd like to give the board members an opportunity to make some general comments about the projects if they would like to, or we could certainly wait until the individual resolutions come up and we can approach it that way. So I open the floor to any board members that want to make a comment at this point.
Start with some general comments. When I was asked to be on this board, I accepted with a two-part understanding. One, that I must be independent and impartial and decide on projects as a resident, a taxpayer, a mother, and not just a city employee. And number two, that our time on the board would mostly be a stewardship role, and we would look to fill the rest of the board as quickly as possible. I want to note for you all or anyone who might be streaming, to the second point, the deadline for applications is actually today. So if you believe you have the ability to be on this board and be independent and impartial, please submit applications. We do not want to sit here forever. But back to that first point, I want to go through a little bit my decision-making process on these resolutions tonight, and I want you all to understand that each of us here went through a similar process when deciding your votes. If you find yourself thinking that, quote, of course they are all going to vote a certain way, or they're told to vote a certain way, you need to consider what internal biases you hold that reduce three incredibly smart women, and but two of those women left to only be capable of parroting others' thoughts. With that, there we go, on. Over the course of the review, as I've repeated before, I've heard nearly unanimous support for this project outside of the specific pilot discussion, especially the timing. Put another way, nearly everyone at the public and I believe will face strong and expensive mitigation. And the other is the length of the pilot, which we're considering tonight. In my 10 years with the city, I've literally never seen so much agreement overall on a single project. And why? This is unequivocally the right project in the right spot. It'll complete the empty Liberty Street facades lost when Fancy Industries burned in 1981, add new flexible retail space. Importantly to me, it will also provide a lot of housing under the required regulatory agreement that they've made tonight. And I really want to thank our Corporation Council for working on this agreement. There will be 8 units of housing at 30% AMI. What that means, the question always, what that means for Newburgh, a family of 4 will be, that the highest income they can make under that is $36,000 a year. There will be 47 units at 50% AMI. For a family of 2, that's about $49,000 a year, or a family of 4, that's $61,000 a year. 61 sounds like a good amount, that's a lot, but in fact, that's 2 workers, we're assuming 2 children and 2 workers, who work at a job that's posted right now, the Hampton Inn, where they would make $16 an hour, and they will be able to afford those apartments. 50 units are proposed at 60% AMI. For a family of 4, that's about $73,000 a year. Who is that? That's a single employee who's worked a few years at the Amazon warehouse, so has topped out that tier, or 2 adults who are just starting out at that Amazon warehouse. So we're not talking higher level people working in lawyers' offices. We're not even talking about higher end a year. Again, $98,000 sounds like a lot until you realize that's 2 adults making just over $40,000 each per year. for the salary for, if the city chooses, a new police officer and a new fireman. This project will still independently pay water and sewer fees based on usage, and sanitation fees if the developer decides to use the city's service. The impact on the school district is harder to detail, but Newburgh continues to project steady declining student populations. And so new housing, especially new permanently affordable, stable housing, is critical to retain state funding levels while increasing the chance that students thrive academically. As part of the planning board site plan approvals for this project, in order to relieve parking in the vicinity, the developer has agreed to make some streetscape and directional improvements, not just around his building, but within the entire neighborhood. These improvements will reduce the impact on both permanently affordable will provide housing for the following types of families. This one, it's at 50% AMI, again, very low income per HUD guidelines, which is below $49,000 for a family of 2 or $61,000 for a family of 4. It'll have 7 units at 60% AMI and 5 units at 120% AMI. For a family of 4, that's $147,000, which again seems high. We're talking about 2 adults making about $70,000 here, but those people also we want to be included in our downtown, and we also want those to be permanently set at a rate. Those are not able to fluctuate, so that will stay at those rates. It's important to codify these. These limits on affordability are something that the city has specifically looked for and asked for through our housing needs assessment. Limited number. This is a reduction to show that the city and the IDA are willing to incentivize projects like this, and I believe that this is the correct decision. I hope these incentives over time become less and less necessary. Again, in regards to which body this decision belongs with, the term of this pilot is reflective of the term of affordability, and in my mind, this is an affordable housing pilot that should have begun and ended with City Council. Echoing my previous comments and seeing City Council's noted support, I believe that if this body returned the process to City Council, it would face unnecessary lengthy delays and ultimately be approved as drafted still. Therefore, I'm in favor of this body passing these resolutions as they have been amended, guaranteeing 30 years of affordability under an agreement with New York State's Department of Housing and Community Renewal.
With that, resolution number 2025-04-21-01, SECRA Resolution 104 Washington Street, LLC. The motion for this resolution.
So move.
Second,
Second?
roll call on the resolution.
Mike Nepple,
Aye.
Alec Church,
Yes.
Vickiana Demora,
Yes.
and Sharonda Powell.
Resolution carries.
Resolution carries.
Resolution number 2025-04-21-02, Commercial Retail Findings, 104 Washington Street, LLC. A motion for resolution number 2025-04-21-02.
So moved?
Second?
Second.
Resolution 104 Washington Street LLC. A motion for resolution number 2025-04-21-03.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call on the resolution.
Mike Knuppel,
Aye.
Ally Church,
Yes.
Vicky Demora,
Yes.
-21-04.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Roll call on the resolution.
Mike Knuppel,
Aye.
Ally Church,
Yes.
Vicky Demora,
Yes.
Shonda Powell,
Yes.
resolution carries.
All right. Resolution number 2025-04-21-05, Secra Resolution Liberty Street Apartments LLC. A motion for resolution number 2025-04-21-05.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call on the resolution.
Mike Knuppel,
Aye.
Ally Church,
Yes.
Vicky Demora,
Yes.
Shonda Powell,
Yes.
resolution carries.
Resolution number 2025-04-21-06, Commercial Retail Findings, Liberty Street Apartments, LLC. I have a motion on resolution number 2025-04-21-06.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call on the resolution.
Mike Knuppel,
Aye.
Ally Church,
Yes.
Vicky Demora,
Yes.
Shonda Powell,
Yes.
resolution carries.
Resolution number 2025-04-21-07, Deviation Approval Resolution, Liberty Street Apartments, LLC. I have a motion for resolution number 2025-04-21-07.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call on the resolution.
Mike Knuppel,
Aye.
Ally Church,
Yes.
Vicky Demora,
Yes.
Shonda Powell,
Yes.
resolution carries.
Resolution number 2025-04-21-08, approving resolution, Liberty Street Apartments, LLC. I have a motion on the resolution.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call on the resolution.
Mr. Chair, if I could, just before consideration of this one, thank you. The applicant and its counsel did chat with me this afternoon and suggested some clarifications and some changes I just wanted to alert the board to. So if you would turn to Exhibit A, Section 5, the total dollar amount, and the dollar sign was omitted in one of the resolutions, so I apologize for that, of $74 million. That's invested or expenses incurred for the project within 48 months instead of 24. They probably won't get started for 18 months, so to ask them to project. It was, the way it was written, it seemed like it was almost immediate. If you look at the MRB cost-benefit analysis, the $9 million is over the entire life of the project, so we just clarified that. In Exhibit B, for Section 1, for the commencement of the project, again, that would be now 18 months. They will not really have their regulatory agreement until the end of the year or early in 26. And so in order for them to have time to take title and then get started, it would be 18 months from now. In Section 4, they asked that the full-time equivalent jobs be at 80%. And we've done that on past projects. The warehouse project was just at 80%. So we think that that's the right, that's an okay ask. And then on number 14, where to get a tenant at the project, They suggested that 6 months is too short a term to be open, get the right tenant. They asked for 18. We're recommending that the board consider 12 months in that case. And then finally, with respect to documenting the residential rental on average at number 16, that the exclusion is not only for the commercial portion, but also for the 18 units that are market rate in their projection. They're having 127 units that are below market rate, and the 18 is necessary to be at market rate. And I think with that, are all the changes. There's one more.
Well, just, excuse me, I just canceled. On number 2, on Exhibit B, I think we talked about 24 months for completion.
Yes, that's correct. I'm sorry, I apologize for that.
And then on number 6, that's a consistency issue with life of the project.
Right,
That's all I think.
right. So I'm sorry, if we could go back to Exhibit B. 18 months to start, 24 months to complete, for a total of 42 months, and that's consistent with the application. And then on number 6, that the total revenues is over the life of the project, 80% over the life of the project. So I think that with those changes, we are consistent with the cost-benefit analysis and all of the public hearing documents that have been presented to the board.
Okay.
And I apologize for the lateness of those changes.
No, that's helpful. And just for the benefit of the public, Exhibit B is the description of recapture events. Can you describe just generally?
Sure. So the statute requires that the agency enter into, again, a uniform project benefit agreement. That agreement says what's the project about and what are the benefits going to be, and if they fail to achieve those benefits, in 24 months. Again, the project, the pilot goes away, terminated, recapture any benefits. At that point, there wouldn't be any benefits. In the future, if they're not maintaining the job creation that they're proposing, if they're not continuing the housing blend that you're proposing, that he has proposed, again, the agency can declare a recapture. The process would be you'd write them a letter demanding an explanation. If they came in with an explanation and the agency did not agree with that explanation, you can then terminate the pilot and then seek all of the past taxes that should have been paid back to the city of Newburgh. So it's a very powerful tool, and it helps them understand what the rules of the road are and allows the agency then to also enforce those requirements. The one other item that I would mention that has been under some discussion today is number 17, which is the breakdown of all of the different attorney and I discussed this afternoon that they would, if it changes, they would present information back to the board for consideration. They are aware that if there are dramatic changes, that it may require a new public hearing at that point in time, but they don't anticipate substantial changes. They may get some tweaks here and there in the numbers, and they would present it back to the board.
Thank you. I think this is still on. Yeah. Thank you for that explanation, Council. So I just want to stamp for the benefit of the public, because there has been a lot of discussion around this project. There is substantial accountability provisions built into this agreement that allow the agency to claw back every cent of financial incentive provided to construct this extraordinarily beneficial project for downtown Newburgh, the Liberty Street corridor, the city at large, and frankly, the region at large. So on top of the recapture events, over the length of the pilot agreement. Currently, the gravel pit on which this project would be constructed produces about $9,000 in property tax revenue annually. And the conclusion of this agreement, under the current pilot schedule, the city itself would realize about $3.8 million in new property tax revenue. The taxing jurisdictions, which include the school district and the county, would realize, along with the city, in total about $8.4 million in new property tax revenues. This does not include increased sales tax revenues and additional revenues realized through the gravity and momentum of continued investment into this area of downtown Newburgh. Will surely spur additional investment going forward as we prepare to develop. Okay. I believe we have an active resolution on the floor.
Yes.
We're looking for a roll call.
Michael Nepple,
Aye.
Ali Church,
Yes.
Vicky Demora,
Yes.
Sharonda Powell. Yes. Motion carries.
Excellent. Item 9, old business. Anybody have old business?
Yes.
We need to appoint a acting secretary for this meeting and for the resolutions.
Yes. I assume there
And
can...
it can't be you.
I don't have enough jobs. I assume that means that no other officer of the board can serve 2 officer roles?
Only the president.
Oh, all right. Well, I will open it up for volunteers to serve as acting secretary for this meeting and future meetings until a
secretary is appointed. Sure.
Okay. May I say pretty please?
I'm treasurer, don't look at me.
Can I receive a description of the duties of secretary?
Yes, I've attached, everyone has a copy of that at the bottom of their packet. It's a very short paragraph, so I'll read it. The secretary shall keep the records of the IDA, shall act as secretary at meetings of the IDA and record all votes, shall keep a record of all proceedings of the IDA in a journal to be kept for such purposes, and shall perform all duties incident to that office. The secretary shall keep in safe custody the seal of the IDA and shall have power to affix such seal to all contracts and other instruments authorized to be executed by the IDA.
I think this is a great time to remind everyone in the public that this is a temporary assignment for the city staff members that we undertook as a result of a quarantine. Incredible. Ms. Sharonda Powell has volunteered to serve as acting secretary, a scholar, a true scholar. What is the mechanism?
Just vote.
A vote. All in favor of Sharonda Powell serving as acting secretary to the City of Newburgh IDA?
Aye.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, great. We have an acting secretary.
Thank you.
All right, I believe that concludes the business of the evening. May I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.